welcome to T.RE.N.D Talks, and today I have the pleasure to talk with Dan Shugar, a solar senior veteran. He's CEO and founder of NEXTracker and was board executive in several leading solar companies around the world. And he is one of the most successful business leaders in solar I know in this industry. So Dan, good morning to you. How are you doing?
Good morning, Edwin. Thank you for having me on the program.
No problem. Dan, to take it away with the question, which is kind of a burning question in the whole industry, what is your vision as a leading expert on the impact of this crisis on the solar industry and the solar market?
Well, thanks for asking. It's playing out differently in different regions, and there are different drivers in different regions. For the most part, and then within our industry, there's different sectors. So the rooftop industry and distributed generation industry has been most severely impacted because there's also a lot of door-to-door selling. There's talking to, homeowners, mom and dad over the kitchen table to keep that business rolling. And so what we're seeing in the States is about a 30 to 40% impact, depending on the company in that space. So they've been really hurt. We've lost probably over 100,000 jobs in that area. The utility scale space, which NEXTracker is really focused on, is generally proceeding. Projects are proceeding in a robust way. There's been some difficulties, but those have been overcome. In NEXTracker's case, we are fortunate that we've built an incredibly robust supply chain. We're manufacturing materials on 4 continents, and so we've been able to serve customers with really no disruption in terms of impact, being able to support the project construction schedule. Definitely in some other places around the world, in Spain and a few other places, projects where construction was actually halted by government regulation. That has been generally eased, and so we've seen a back to work situation happen there. I think the big concern is financing and the ability to ensure that these projects go forward from that equity and debt is available. What we've seen in the States is tax equity. A lot of tax equity dry up because of the virus. A lot of profitability is sucked out of the system. So that's a big concern for the States. Although projects are still proceeding, tax equity is more scarce, it's more expensive, and that's driving up the cost of the systems. Overseas, I think the game is still being played out right now, and folks are dealing with those challenges.
So if you take, let's take a year from now, do you expect that this crisis is going to have a huge impact on the pipeline for your company in large scale solar in the US?
I feel generally quite optimistic about the utility scale sector in general, just due to the raw economics. I mean, projects are being bid for just incredibly low numbers by our customers, less than $20 per megawatt hour in many regions around the world, which is crazy. And in some cases, values similar to that, coupled with some storage. So I feel really good about the utility scale sector. This tax equity and international financing challenges has to be dealt with. I feel very good about NEXTracker's ability to serve the clients in that sector because we've really focused on quality, reliability, and most importantly, yield. And we try to have our systems generate more megawatt hours per megawatt due to exemplary performance in bifacial gains because our systems don't shade the back very much, and they do so uniformly. And our adaptive tracking technology called TrueCapture that we pioneered, we have well over 50 projects using that today. It's accepted by banks and financing entities. So, with the bifacial technology and the adaptive tracking, there are enormous gains to the total production out of the systems. And so that helps. It's incredibly leveraging in the financial returns. So I'm cautiously optimistic. The sector continues. I'm very confident about our ability to just responsibly continue delivering high quality, very high performing systems for these clients. And I think what's happening is we're seeing, the coal sector just on an accelerated death spiral. But that can't happen fast enough in our view. And the nuclear plants are they're dropping away quickly in the States. what's concerning is
low energy prices, I guess.
The energy prices for sure. And sorry to just to finish the thread on the what's concerning on the international side is you have Chinese and Japanese export agencies really pushing coal and doing all kinds of shenanigans behind I don't know what, but these plants, that sector actually expanding in some countries, even though it's not economic compared to renewables. That's a real threat for us. It's a real concern for the global environment. I'm sorry, what was your next question?
Yeah, no, the question was related to this, maybe this push is also leading to these low energy prices, what we see also in Europe, you know, very low prices for electricity on the market, which is, yeah, obviously a threshold maybe then for solar, for merchant solar projects, for example. I don't know if you see a similar development in the US.
Yeah, well, we're operating in 4 continents in a robust way, so we're experiencing that as well. You know, I think the short-term volatility that you're speaking about with these very low energy prices, that's a factor, but I think that'll transition away. What's I think more concerning is the regressive energy policies we're seeing in some countries. In the US, the Trump administration has been horrible for renewables. They've done all kinds of things, not to help create jobs or stabilize the grid, but rather just to throw a bone to a constituency for political reasons in the polluting sector. Well, we have a similar situation happening in Mexico. We have some clients with large systems in the grid. They're having trouble connecting, doing interconnection. That provides a lot of, obviously, economic hit in that market, which was the largest market in Latin America recently. And so these populist sort of administrations that came in over the last 3 or 4 years have done some regressive energy policy, which I think is quite concerning. Yeah. So I think we'll kind of transition through these short-term volatilities. Some of the old, it could actually be a good thing because some of the old non-economic, heavily polluting fossil resources like coal will go offline permanently. There's a lot less drilling and exploration and fracking and things like that going on. But this policy thing's really important, and everyone in the solar industry really needs to do their part to engage in the policy. That means your company personally engaging both financially and your time. And if you're not engaged in that, you're in the solar industry, you're a free rider. And that's not okay in our book. So we all need to engage and be part of our industry associations and support that.
Yeah, that's a good shout out for political change. I think a lot of people underwrite that and agree with you. We could talk about for hours on the political side of the equation, but let's focus now on some finishing questions. So the question of our previous interviewer, which was Michael Libra, he asked, and maybe this also related to this, what we just discussed. Are you expecting a paradigm shift in society? Are we going to bounce back to where we were in December 2019, or are we going to see a paradigm shift into a new models in the world? Maybe you can give a short answer to that.
Sure. Yeah, so I think people's behaviors are going to change. I'm very much a people-to-people type. You know, that's the way I grew up. But I think we're going to have less of that. There's going to be less people at conferences, less people, you know, on travel, on cruises, and so forth. And so the new normal will be less of that. There'll be more interconnection. I think it'll come back to an extent. But I think, you know, definitely some industries are going to change for the long haul. There's opportunities and threats there. I think we need to really focus on how do we stay socially connected for the long term and really find a way to get our values out there. But you know, I've got concerns about there's so much disinformation put out there. So really getting to a place of a common dialogue of non-disputed facts and things like that we can move forward on. So I think there's, you know, and speaking in the solar sector, I think we'll see the accelerated demise of some of the non-economic fossil plants. So that's a good thing. And then hopefully we get back to a very strong growth in renewables.
All right. Wow. Thanks so much, Dan, for talking with you today. And I wish you all the best, all the good health for the near future, and with SunTracker, all the best.
Thank you so much.
You
too. Bye now.